Hello everyone, welcome to Bowles Theory of Everything. What a beautiful summer evening. Today I'm tackling one of the oldest questions in lawn bowls. What comes first, line or length? Does there even have to be a first or second? Can you do both together? And more importantly, what should you focus on when you're out on the green? Some players say it's all about length. If you can't reach the jack, what's the point of a perfect line? Others swear by the line, arguing that consistent direction sets the foundation for weight. My theory is that a bowl in line is more likely to count when the end finishes than if it's too wide. A bowl a yard wide is usually useless. Not so a bowl directly in front or behind. I'll show you now my theory. When you come over to the end of this rink, we're bowling down this way. The black team have bowled 2 or 3 feet wide. The red team have bowled 2 or 3 feet in line with the jack. Now, when the red person has a bowl and subsequent bowls come up, if it's pairs, there's lots of chances for red team, but not so many for the black team. Chances are that you can push this one up, you can run the jack back to the back red, and if you're coming on either hand and you're just slightly overweight, what will happen is you'll be swinging here. You can use that bowl to come in off. And when you're back on the mat, I'm now retreating, you can see me back on the mat. From the other end, you can't see the jack. Red team have got a psychological advantage there. It's very hard. They're dead in line. Whereas the black team have got a jack high bowl there. And when the red team bowls, the skip will say, black team, jack high bowl. You've just got to beat that jack high bowl. It's far easier than beating a bowl dead in line. So that's my theory about which is most important. But I asked a question today anyway, because so far this season I've struggled because it's my first outdoor season for 15 years. And I struggle with both line and length. It's harder to get the line outdoors because the lines to the jack are straighter and short bowls are more difficult to avoid. In addition, if you're a fraction bowl wide, the bowl tends to go straight on and stop short. I call it a tramway to nowhere. If you take the inside line to take advantage of any straight runs, so for example, these bowls are in the way here. If you try and go outside them, the bowl tends to go straight on and drop short there. If you go inside, you've got to get that line perfectly inside that bowl. If you don't get it perfectly, it'll swing away. There are straight runs. The inside line does have some very useful straight runs on outdoor greens. But you've got to be very exact. I've adapted a verse from the Bible here to demonstrate this. I have a biblical upbringing, and here it is from Matthew chapter 7 verse 14. For narrow is the line and difficult is the way that leads to the jack, and few there are who find it. Okay, the trap. For me personally, I like to get my line first. I take my aiming point, a marker on the bank. I can do that fairly quickly, I think, and because it gives me a framework for my whole delivery. Sometimes when the green is narrow, I'll probably be aiming on, if I'm coming forward, I'll be aiming maybe only for here. If it's a bit wider, I've probably got more of a consistent line I'm looking at on the bank. I can normally lock into those lines fairly quickly. Problem comes outdoors, it's not as easy. Different lengths can mean different aiming points and different conditions, And if you're going down the rink, you have to come inside and outside short bowls, and that's harder outdoors. So if you don't lock in to that line and you're constantly worrying about it, you forget about the length. And that's happened to me. I get so focused on correcting the line, I start delivering without full rhythm or feel. That's when things unravel. It's like trying to fix your steering mid-corner, but forgetting you still need to accelerate. What to do? The answer is to concentrate, really concentrate on those early ends. The trial ends, or your early ends if you don't have trial ends, use those markers. Then, when you found that switch focus, feel the weight through rhythm, repetition, muscle memory. If either goes off, pause and reset. Don't let a bad line override your delivery. And that's what tends to happen. You're thinking about that, you're thinking about the line, and your basics are not followed, the basic smoothness. So, reset, refocus, replay. Remember, no matter your natural preference, both line and length are part of the same delivery. Ignore one and the other usually follows it downhill. There is, however, a method that combines length and line so that you should not overlook either of them, and it's bowling to the apex of the arc. It's harder to get an accurate fix on the imaginary point that you're bowling to, but many bowlers use this method successfully, and I'll now demonstrate that. Here I am. I'm not gone all the way back. I've just done a short distance for better demonstration. And the idea is, instead of taking a line on the bank or for a bowl, you take a line through the arc where it's at its widest. And I've put a mat down there on the backhand there, which is roughly where I think the bowl's going to come in from. So in a game, of course, that mat would not be there. So I'm imagining that that's a point there where I'm going to bowl at. So I'll just show you where it would go, and it would go something like this. That's gone straight, so there's not much of a swing on this, but the idea is that you take an imaginary line where that mat is, and by doing so there is an advantage of line and length because the width of that arc gives you a feel for the length as well as the line. Now the difficulty is you're bowling into an imaginary area because that mat would not normally be there. So you're in an imaginary area and it's harder to get the line. However, as a complete process for line and length, that's not a bad thing to do. So I'd be interested to see how many of you viewers do take that approach rather than the line on the bank. I'm coming back because that bowl that I bowled, it hung off there, so that may well be a straight line down that side. So I'm going to try one on the forehand. So there's my mat on the apex of an imaginary arc, and I'm going to bowl the forehand. So I know roughly what the line is. I'll aim to get over that mat and swing back to the jack. Well, that's pretty good, and that shows that I was on the outside of that mat. Had I gone on the inside of the mat, it would have come back in. So this is demonstrating that if you have a point on an imaginary arc, that you're combining length and line together, and you don't do that. When you take the line, you look at the point on the bank, then you switch to look to the jack, then you look back to your line, then you switch back to the jack. You're going to and fro to get both things in your mind. So it can be harder. The advantage of the line is it's a great fix and use a guaranteed line. When you're looking at imaginary points, you can't guarantee you're picking the same point every go on every delivery. But you make your choice, and I'll be interested to see how you viewers, which method you use, and whether you use another method altogether. Some people I know just look at the jack and naturally bowl wide of the jack. So that's even more of a concentrated look at the jack. But I know there was a bowler at my club in Colchester who did that. She was a wonderful bowler, wonderful draw bowler. So never dismiss these other theories. I'll be interested to hear from you viewers as to what method you use. I'll go back now to the end and conclude. So to conclude, line or length? Is it one or the other? Is it both together? What do you focus on first? Drop a comment below and tell me what works for you. And if you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Bowles Theory of Everything. Also, when you comment, I'll be interested to know what other topics you'd like. I've had some interesting ones which I've covered recently, and they've come from viewers saying, what if this? I had a viewer questioning me about where to stand on the mat. So that may be a subject of my next video. And what I said was, if you're indoors, you can use the width of the mat, which is 14 inches. You can move 1 foot one way to get a line and 1 foot that way. It's harder outdoors because the lines are not like the indoors, where if you bowl a foot wider, the bowl will come back a foot more or stay a foot wider rather. Outdoors, you bowl a foot wider and it'll go straight on and be a yard wider. So it is harder, but it's still something to tackle, and I'll do that next. So please give me your comments and have a good week. Thank you very much. Bye bye.